Part 120. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 1192. Little monkey, don't wait to die, hurry up, run away with me. In the ears of the girl in black skirt, this voice sounded again. She recalled a scene from the past, but then shook her head. Those memories that harm the Taoist heart should not be recalled again, and everything about the divine world should be buried. After countless years, her dark Taoist heart has long been completed and will no longer fluctuate. But this voice is so familiar. She subconsciously looked towards the source of the sound, but saw a middle-aged man suddenly walking out of the darkness. His face was full of anxiety, and he rushed over at lightning speed and said, "Follow me, don't wait to die." He grabbed the girl in black skirt's hand. "Owner." The girl in black skirt was extremely surprised and looked at the middle-aged man in front of her in disbelief. The master betrayed the master back then, wasn't he already dead? Why does it appear now? She was stunned for a moment. Why is it still locked? When Xuanhuan saw the shackles on the feet of the girl in black skirt, she was angry and heartbroken and said, "Who did this? He did this to you, I must kill him." He tried hard to cut off the shackles, but his cultivation was unable to shake the shackles at all. "Master, this is what the master left behind to help me realize the truth. You must not damage it, otherwise the master will be angry." She spoke hastily. But Xuanhuan's eyes turned red and he said, "You know what you're doing, I'll fight you." At this moment, black flames suddenly appeared in his hands, burning the shackles. The black flame can destroy almost everything, but it is useless against these shackles. How to do the master dance, how to do it? He was roaring and roaring in his heart. The little monkey was tied up like this, with his ankles pierced by the shackles, which completely angered him. And in Xuanhuan's Taoist scenery, the master jumped through the Taoist scenery, stared at the chain, and suddenly said, "I wouldn't be able to do this thing, try hitting it with a tower." When Xuanhuan heard this, he was startled for a moment, but then he said, "This tower doesn't listen to me." Before he finished speaking, the small black tower suddenly trembled slightly, and an inexplicable force instantly flowed into Xuanhuan's hand. He subconsciously raised his palm, used his hand as a knife, and slashed it down. When, with a loud noise, the shackles and chains that were so terrifying that even the jumping master was unable to do anything, and even the dark flames could not burn them, were actually disconnected. "You, traitor! How dare you attack Master's great Dao lock, don't blame me for being ruthless." When the girl in black skirt saw this, she reacted and became furious. She raised her palm and was about to attack Xuanhuan. No matter who this person was and what kind of interaction he had with him, from the moment he became a traitor and chose to leave the law of darkness, he was already destined to be an enemy. Treat the enemy, don't be soft-hearted. However, before her palm fell on Xuanhuan's head, Xuanhuan's Taoist scenery had been released on its own, involving the girl in black skirt. "This thing is coming in." The jumping master was startled and waved his hands hurriedly. Suddenly, he, the Thunder Emperor, and the Water Emperor were directly petrified, as if they had turned into lifeless sculptures. "Traitor, I want to take you to see Master." The girl in the black dress spoke coldly and wanted to take action, but a small black tower had already flown over and headed towards her to suppress her. This is that person's thing." The girl in black skirt was surprised and said angrily, "You really chose that person's path, traitor, traitor." She tried her best, and at this moment, unprecedented power exploded in Xuanhuan's Dao scenery. The Wushuan Dao exploded, enough to destroy all living creatures in Xuanhuan's Dao scenery. This is the supreme rule, the absolute Dao suppression. All living beings in the same place with her will die, and no one can survive. However, her supreme power burst out, but was instantly wiped out by the small black tower. The small tower suppressed and fell down. No. She struggled to resist, but it was useless. She was shrouded in inexplicable power, and the supreme power in her body seemed to be sealed. Suddenly she staggered and fell to the ground. But the small black tower was as calm as water and floated back to the depths of Xuanhuan's Taoist scenery. Young master, please don't bully the little monkey. If you dare to bully her, I will fight you to the death. Outside the Dao Jingdi, Xuanhuan ran away at a very fast speed, hurriedly escaping from this divine world. And inside the Dao Jingdi, the three people, Jumping God, Thunder Emperor, and Water Emperor, looked like they had been completely petrified and no longer possessed the characteristics of life. But, suddenly, the stone sculpture of Dancing God stretched out, the stone skin disappeared, and the whole person came to life. That's it? He casually patted the Thunder Emperor and the Water Emperor, and immediately they both regained life. What's going on? Did we just die? They were stunned. The experience just now seems to be no different from real death. They have lost all intuition and fallen into eternal silence. Everything in this world has nothing to do with them. You're not dead. Even the girl in black dress, who had been sealed with supreme power, looked at the dancing master in surprise at this moment. She had just released the supreme power of the Wushuan Avenue. Even if it was just for a moment, these three people should have died completely. Little girl, haven't you heard of the way of no life? The dancing master smiled slightly and said, this is still the dark and supreme avenue of you. The face of the girl in the black skirt changed slightly and said, just now, you used the method of inanimate to transform yourself into an inanimate object, but, how did you change back? The master dancer laughed again and said, because you have a dark supreme, who has cultivated the way of no death. He said leisurely, the unparalleled way is certainly terrifying, but without life and without death, what can you do to me? Hearing this, the girl in the black skirt was simply stunned. The person in front of me can actually master two supreme avenues at the same time. Moreover, you can switch at will. This is simply too scary. No. You are the one called, the great dancer. The way of ignorance. She immediately realized what she had thought of. Among the many supremes, there is one supreme way that is the most terrifying, and that is ignorance. Ignorant people know everything, have insight into all the supreme avenues in the world, and can evolve any supreme avenue. Known as the unparalleled half-step in the world. Throughout the ages, there is only one person who has cultivated this way. Dance masters. But isn't that person already dead? Together with the woman known as the End of 10,000 Paths, she was taken away by the master. How could it happen again now? Yes, do you want me to dance for you? The master dances very leisurely. Who wants to see you perform a great dance? The girl in the black dress spoke angrily, let me go, otherwise the master will come and kill you, and you will die. The dancing master lay down on the chair casually and waved his hands. The Thunder Emperor and the Water Emperor gave him a knowing slap on the back. It's okay if you don't look. I'm still waiting for my other two souls to come out. Otherwise, I won't be able to dance this great dance for you. He closed his eyes and enjoyed it. Waiting for the prophecies of the Moon Emperor and the Sun Emperor to come true, his other two souls will also run out. And at this moment, dark place. Something's wrong. The Dark One suddenly spoke and said, why wasn't there a big war? The ape in the heart of the lonely person has been completely transformed by the master, guarding the steps of the years. Even if she faces that person, she should fight with all her strength. But he suddenly said, she seems to be missing. Several people looked at each other. This is so outrageous. The first few times, they just threw the dark rose and the dark fire. Now, even the heart monkey has gone away? What the hell is this? Good night. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Gui Xin. Chapter 1193. The dark god realm appeared in the world, and the breath of the unparalleled way shocked the entire forbidden 9 continents, and the world was frightened. However, that aura soon disappeared. Wherever the dark sacred land floats, it is as empty and quiet as death, with only some black mist rising and falling. What happened? Where's that almost death-like aura just now? Has the dark powerhouse in the dark god realm left? The world was shocked and confused. At this moment, in the holy realm of Kunlun, disappeared. The big black dog was a little confused and said, "The master escaped before he really took action." Everyone in the dark divine land was even more excited. Above the sky, like a paintbrush continuing to fall, waterfalls evolve one after another. Those waterfalls look like the curtain of time, reflecting time and space. It was Bifang roaring wildly, Kyanki soaring into the sky, and the sacred Daypen shining brightly. The shadows of various behemoths that once dominated mythical time and space are evolving, as if they are about to rush out from the bygone years. However, the years have passed, and the divine land has turned into darkness. No matter how unwilling and strong the remaining mythical beast is, it cannot reappear in this world. Suddenly, a drop of blood seemed to penetrate the sky and fell from the sky. That drop of blood is like rolling lava, containing the heat of life, like a surging ocean, carrying endless vitality. The fall of a drop of blood actually caused thousands of shocking changes. In the vast starry sky and the endless 9 heavens, countless shadows of mythical creatures were flying. There are 9 heavenly phoenixes, each of whose wings can split the sky and burn with eternal flames. There is an eternal true dragon, with scales and claws that shake the sky, and a roar that shakes the ages, like the master of heaven and earth. There is an ancient white tiger, leaping through the years, disappearing from heaven and earth, fighting for the passage along the steps of time. All kinds of top-notch mythical creatures seem to be guarding that drop of blood at this moment, dancing wildly with the drop of blood. A drop of blood fell on the dark world of gods. Suddenly, boom! Above the god realm, it was as if a major earthquake had been triggered. The endless black mist was like being burned by lava, evaporating massively. The dead and dead earth suddenly reflected endless vitality and light. The world of gods is recovering. The divine world was once extremely glorious and had many mythical creatures, but they were all killed by the unparalleled way and buried in the soil. Now, in the earth, there is endless vitality, the bones are dying, and then the first generation of creatures are inspired, the dead beasts are scattered, and new beasts appear. A drop of blood evolved the entire Shinto civilization, and many giant beasts reappeared in the world with a new attitude. The sacred aura pours down like a river, making all the creatures in the forbidden world feel it. At this moment, hundreds of millions of living beings were favored by the divine aura, and the bloodlines of countless living beings were undergoing radical changes. What's going on? My bloodline actually derived a sacred golden substance on its own. Incredible, my bloodline has returned to its ancestors. Countless cultivators have experienced this great benefit. In the river, several carp jumped out of the water and were favored by the divine aura. These carp actually evolved into dragon scales, which was extremely amazing. Above the mountains and rivers, a group of sparrows flapped their wings and flew high, creating whirlwinds that seemed to be flying thousands of miles away. In the soil, a few ordinary ants suddenly gave birth to an unprecedented tentacle, which seemed to be able to tear apart boulders. The entire taboo world has undergone unimaginable evolution with the revival of the Shinto world. Ordinary creatures also have the potential to become mythical creatures. Shock the world. The mythical world has revived. Is this the true meaning of the golden world? Fairy land, holy land, mythical world. The immortal seeds suppress the earthquake, and the divine beasts spare the terror. The forbidden road is no longer incomplete, until it reaches the realm of terror, and everyone can leave. Everyone in the world is extremely surprised. In the forbidden world, because the most critical immortal seeds, holy fire, etc. are missing, the forbidden path of cultivation has been wrong for a long time. Even if you create a way, you cannot become the creator. Now, the roadbed of this road, below the founding road, has been completed. At the same time, Kunlun Holy Land. On the vast divine land, there is also a sacred river pouring into the Kunlun Holy Land. At this moment, Kunlun Holy Land has reached the final stage of creation. Immortal seeds are sprouting, holy light is shining, and the world is beginning to take shape. And the infusion of the divine aura caused the bloodlines of all the creatures in this holy realm to undergo drastic changes. The countless cultivators who came here to witness the ceremony were all glowing with divine light at this moment. All kinds of spiritual beasts in the mountains and rivers are roaring and evolving crazily. This, dead dog, why don't we feel anything? Wu Dade looked at the scene and couldn't help asking curiously. This divine aura protects the world, but these brothers and sisters show no signs of evolution at all. The big black dog said disdainfully, ignorant human pet, do you still lack the essence of Shinto? If you cook it and sell it, you can create several mythical dynasties. Wu Dade. At this moment, with the input of the three sources of ancient civilizations, immortals, saints, and gods, the initial rules of the world of Kunlun Holy Realm have been continuously perfected and completely formed. Tianxin Seal was finally born. The imprint of Tianxin in the Kunlun realm forms two mysterious three-color divine birds, with the wings of immortal energy, the body of holy energy, and the head of divine energy, flying between heaven and earth. The three-color divine bird is chirping, and the chirping sound awakens the world. Then, two three-color divine birds flew towards Mu Qianning and Wu Xiaoqan and entered their Taoist scenery. Boom! At this moment, the strength of Wu Xiaoqan and Mu Qianning surged, and a surge of imperial power shot out of the sky. They are still only in the heavenly king realm, but with an emperor-level beast living in the life palace, and with the Tianxin mark of a new world, they are no longer weaker than the emperor. Creation is finished. At this moment, Wu Xiaoqan and Mu Qianning have become the masters of the Kunlun realm. The realm of Kunlun is complete, and we can escape into the years. Wu Xiaoqan spoke, and he and Mu Qian combined their forces to activate the Tianxin seal. The Tianxin mark contains the space rules of the present world and the time rules of the immortal, living, and divine ways that have passed away. It can allow the entire world to escape into the long river of immortal, holy, and divine ways, thereby hiding it, making it difficult to trace in the darkness. At this moment, in the Kunlun world, steps of time suddenly appeared. The steps of time are illusory and ethereal, like running water with no end in sight. Wu Xiaoqan and Mu Qianning walked towards the steps of time. But, right now, boom! The steps of the years were suddenly filled with a dark force, and the dark energy even wanted to be involved in the Kunlun realm. Mu Qianning and Wu Xiaoqan were both surprised and retreated hurriedly. And at the end of the steps of the years, there is a dark male pass standing majestically. Behind the male pass, there seems to be a mysterious dark world. On top of Xuanhuan, there are three big characters written on it. Gate of Hell. At the gate of the Ghost Gate, a man and a woman appeared. Their expressions were indifferent, and their eyes seemed to contain eternal black mist and deathly silence, as if they were looking at the forbidden world from far away in time and space. They are exactly the same as Mu Qianning and Wu Xiaoqan. Those are, the bodies of the Taiyan Empress and the ancient Sun Emperor, who fell into darkness. What's going on? The gate of hell, blocking the path of time. Everyone was shocked. It is easy to create a world and wait for the heavens to change, but it is difficult to cross the gate of hell between life and death. Mu Jianing suddenly whispered that she had learned about the prophecy of the god of Tiao from Jade Rabbit. Nowadays, the world has changed greatly, and the creation of the world has indeed been successful. However, the gate of hell has blocked the road of time and trapped all living beings in this world. Wow, this is the dark world she created. As for the big black dog, there was an unprecedented solemnity flashing in the dog's eyes. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Goi Xin. Chapter 1194. The Kunlun realm has been created. However, the Kunlun world, which already has the time rules of the immortal, holy, and Shinto civilizations, is unable to step into the passing years at this moment. A ghost gate, a mysterious dark world, blocks the road of time, trapping all living beings in this world. What is that? A dark world actually exists on the road of time. No, after the immortal way, the holy way, and the divine way, is the chaotic time and space. Could it be that that dark world is actually built in the chaotic time and space? That should be the case. The first civilization from the Forbidden Era was the Chaos Civilization. After the Chaos Civilization, we can trace back to the Shinto, Holy Path, and Immortal civilizations. However, now in the time and space where the Chaos Civilization is located, there are already people. A world was created, so we were blocked. Many people spoke, talked a lot, and looked ugly. The immortal way, the holy way, the divine way, the way of chaos, and the forbidden way, this is the chronological order of the reproduction of life civilization. After the Kunlun world was successfully created, it had the rules of the first three time spaces. Therefore, it was natural to reach the years of the three time spaces and escape the interception of the darkness in this life. However, in the space and time of the chaotic civilization closest to the forbidden civilization, there is a dark world. This blocked the way to Kunlun realm. Who can actually create a world in the dark and chaotic time and space? He is a strong man in the darkness. Even if we succeed in creating the world, we still have 5 ways to go. No, that world seems to have traced back to the present world, and is heading towards the present world along the road of time. Immediately afterwards, everyone was shocked. Because, that dark world in the chaotic time and space is actually heading towards the Kunlun realm along the road of time. What's going on? Is that dark world coming? No. Once it happens, it will be a disaster. Everyone is anxious. Dead dog, what on earth is going on? Wu Date asked the big black dog. Even Ziling, Lin Zhujian, and Lu Rang looked at it. The big black dog said solemnly. Do you know the path to creation? Who proposed it? The end of 10,000 roads. Lin Zhujian and others were slightly surprised. Is this actually related to the end of 10,000 paths? Sister Yungzi. Ziling's big eyes flickered, not knowing what she was thinking of. Back then, after she walked out of the gate of 10,000 daos, she traveled through the forbidden ancient road and arrived at the forbidden world. The master once traveled up the long river of time and reached the time and space such as the immortal way and the divine way. Therefore, she took this as an opportunity to create this road. This road can allow people to have a place to avoid disaster when disaster strikes. The big black dog whispered. She passed this road to the Empress of Taiyan and the ancient Emperor of the Sun, but she went to the sky of darkness herself. She said that she would create the land of life in the darkness and wait for the return of the Master. Now the road to creation is successful, but she is at the source of this road. Moreover, she should have failed. Instead of creating a real land of life, she created a dark world. Lin Zhujian and others all looked solemn. I didn't expect that the end of the road would go so far. One person is facing the entire dark sky, trying to create a pure land and wait for the master to return. They all sighed. Hey, is this dark world, coming to this world? Lin Zhuchen asked. The big black dog said. Between the present world and the past, there is a chasm hidden between the present world and the divine punishment, which cannot be overcome for the time being. However, the formation of the Kunlun realm now points the direction of time, and it shouldn't take long. She leads the dark world to come, and I am afraid there will be big trouble. It thought for a while and said, we will wait until this world comes, go back to the village first. Immediately, Lin Zhuchen and others nodded. Kunlun realm cannot be escaped. You can stay or leave as you wish. Wu Xiaoqan also spoke, and his voice shook the entire Kunlun world. Although the current Kunlun world has become a world of its own, in fact, it is impossible to leave the forbidden world. Creatures in the Kunlun realm can also freely enter and exit the Kunlun realm and travel to and from the forbidden world. Immediately, many people died and could not escape into time. So being in the Kunlun world is the same as staying in the forbidden world. But most people stayed, willing to become the first batch of ancestors in the Kunlun realm. What should we do with these two dark emperors? Wu Dade looked at Mo Quan and Mo Shi and said, it looks like they can't eat. Senior sister Xiling has turned Mo Quan into a painting slave. Let me plant piranhas for this Mo Shi. Lu Rang's eyes shone. Last time, he used Mo Tai's body to plant a piranha flower. He liked this kind of thing, very much. It's not right, it's not right. Lin Zhuchen spoke up and said, this man has a very strong corpse aura, which is an excellent material for making a corpse. Why don't you leave it to me, turn him into a zombie, and then let him go back to the dark world? If he uses it properly, he might be able to survive in the dark world over there, raise a zombie army. Hearing this, everyone was stunned. Refining corpse? It makes sense, when you become a piranha, you can eat up to a few people, but when you become a zombie, you can create a zombie army. Even Lu Rang couldn't help but say, it must be you who are not human beings and are just playing tricks. Immediately, Lin Zhuchen took action. He dipped the Vulcan pen in cinnabar and drew a series of talismans on the silent body. Borrow the yin qi and use it. With that said, he spoke to Mu Jianing again. Zombies are born with yin energy. Mu Jianing waved her hand, and a cold air filled the air, and was sucked into Mo Shi's body. At this moment, under the guidance and suppression of Fu Lu, coupled with this yin qi, even living people will be turned into living corpses. Moreover, although Mo Shi is the great emperor, the materials used by Lin Zhuchen to refine the corpse at this moment are all of high status. The Vulcan pen and cinnabar are all things in the small courtyard, and even the yin qi is at the level of the great emperor. Lin Zhuchen even attracted the energy of creation from heaven and earth and poured it in, allowing Mo Shi to be rotted by the earth's energy for as long as 10,000 years. The face of the silent corpse gradually turned a deathly blue color, the two fangs slowly poked out, and the nails like sharp blades grew out of his 10 fingers. Really turned into a zombie. Wu Dade was shocked. Besides, this zombie looks like it's very old. They were all amazed. In fact, it would take at least years and months for ordinary people to refine a corpse. Just burying a corpse in the ground and raising it would take several years. However, Lin Zhuchen raised a corpse very directly. He mobilized the energy of creation, and this moment was worth burying it in the ground. Thousands of years. This is a 1,000-year-old corpse. My teacher is as urgent as the law, get up. Lin Zhuchen casually picked up a corpse-attracting talisman. As soon as the order came out, the zombie suddenly opened its eyes and suddenly shot up straight. Swallow the creatures of darkness and do not disturb the life in this world. Lin Zhu was casting a curse on the talisman, and then he lifted the talisman, and the flame suddenly burned. The zombie opened its mouth and swallowed all the ashes. Okay, take your painting slave brothers and go back. Lin Zhuzhen spoke. Ziling said to Mo Quan, well, after you go back, don't talk nonsense, forget it, just destroy your own sanity. After all, although Mo Quan has been reduced to a painting slave, he still retains a trace of sanity. It's best to let him, just be an idiot. No. Don't even think about it. Mo Quan spoke reluctantly, then raised his hand and slapped himself on the forehead with a sudden slap. With this palm, he cut himself in half and lost his mind. He completely fainted. Hold him and leave. Just as Lin Zhuzhen was speaking, the zombie that Mo Shi turned into grabbed Mo Quan and suddenly bit him on Mo Quan's neck. In Mo Quan's throat, the black blood was sucked by Mo Shi. Seeing this, everyone was shocked. For God, this guy is very eager for dark blood food now. Lin Zhuzhen scratched his head and said, Sister Ziling, your painting slave will become a zombie painting slave this time. Ziling smiled and said, no matter, let's go, let's find the lamp of origin quickly. The ancient Taiyan Emperor and the ancient Sun Emperor hid the two lamps of origin in the Kunlun Holy Land. Woof, there. The big black dog had the sharpest eyes. It raised its paw and pointed forward. Directly on the altar of the two rituals, at some point, two ancient bronze lamps appeared. Burning with black flames. Good night. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Gui Xin. Chapter 1195. The Lamp of Origin, why does it light up with black flames? Lin Zhuzhen spoke doubtfully. The road that started a prairie fire doesn't work, so Master chose another path. Lu Rang explained immediately. Hearing this, Ziling and Lin Zhuzhen both had complicated expressions, and felt a sense of sadness inexplicably. Can't we help Master after all? Lin Zhuzhen spoke helplessly. Master, are you not willing to let us sacrifice ourselves? Ziling whispered. Immediately, they took two lamps of origin and prepared to leave. Mu Jianing and Wu Xiaoqan are now the masters of the Kunlun realm and cannot leave, so they ask Ziling and others to say hello to Li Fan on their behalf. The big black dog pulled its paws and activated the teleportation array, and several people disappeared from the Kunlun world. The creation of the world caused huge waves in Zhuzhu, but it has not yet subsided. The creation of the world was successful, but we cannot escape into time. Can we only be trapped and die in this life? More than that, now a dark world has descended on us along the road of time. What will happen then? No one knows. Is a black disaster coming? People are panicked. The road to creation was once regarded as a way of survival for all people in the world. They could escape into the years and avoid the disaster of darkness. Now that this road is open, it is found that it is a broken road at all. How can we not make people despair? No one can take the path of parasitism, and the path to creation is also cut off. Is it possible that we can only survive on the path of grey fog? Not necessarily. When the Golden Age comes, the Forbidden Road is the heavenly avenue. Now, imagine that everyone is an emperor, and even everyone is the creator. It may not be impossible to fight against the darkness. The darkness is too strong. Even the founder of the Forbidden Road may not be able to compete with it. It's too optimistic. The world is paying attention. In any case, the dark world has followed the road of time, heading towards the forbidden world, making everyone anxious. No matter what, you can only survive by strengthening yourself. Take advantage of this golden age to improve your cultivation. This quickly became the consensus. When darkness falls, the stronger your cultivation level, the more hope you have to survive. For a time, in the golden age, everyone was practicing bravely, and everyone had already gone to the fairy land and the holy land. Nowadays, many newborn mythical beasts have evolved in the divine land, and many powerful people in the world have entered to find the divine beasts and pass the shocking test. The world is full of people struggling to survive. At the same time, dark place. The divine land appeared, but the war didn't happen at all. The Dark One murmured, besides, the lone man's heart monkey is still missing. Something big is going to happen. I'm afraid Master will ask. Their expressions were extremely ugly. The lonely person's heart has been completely converted. Even if she faces that person, she will not back down and will fight, she will not escape on her own. Moreover, there is a chain of the great road created by the Master's hand. Who can break it? Zhizhe is also puzzled. The Silent One suddenly looked at the throne of darkness and said, "That body of yours, did you take action?" Zhizhe and Darker also looked over. The only one who can do this is the other body that exists on the dark throne. On the throne of darkness, with rhythmic breathing, the being yawned, as if he had just woken up, and said, "Take action? Don't worry, he is just painting in the village every day. Well, he has bitten his finger 3 times. According to you, his original essence should be almost gone." The being on the dark throne smiled and said, "Now, he only has the origin of chaos that has not dissipated, and the 9 lamps left in the forbidden world, and only 1 lamp is left that has not ignited the black fire. The situation where you destroy the source and burn the universe is very close." Silencer and others all began to think. This is strange. The stopper whispers. It seems like it's probably related to the person who danced the great god. The Dark One opened his mouth and said, "Between Master and that person, only those who are great at dancing have a chance." Zhizhe also nodded and said, "After all, he is the 3rd best person in the world, even though he is dead and only his soul is left, he is still difficult to deal with." They all looked at the Silent One. "Junior brother, you have to hurry up. Only if you achieve the Silent Tao can you completely defeat the great god Tiao and retrieve Dark Rose, Holy Fire, and Heart Ape, otherwise, Master will be angry." Now, the Silent One is their best hope. The Emoja looked at his 2 senior brothers. He felt an inexplicable hunger. This hunger had been there since he absorbed Emotai, leaving him confused. "I will try my best." He suppressed the urge and spoke. "Master, senior brother Emoshi Emoquan and the others are back." At this time, the 2 remaining disciples of the Silent One suddenly spoke. In the darkness, Emoshi and Emoquan had returned. I saw the 2 of them, both like walking corpses, silent. "Senior brother Emoshi, how are you? Have you attained enlightenment?" The disciple of the Silent One spoke curiously. However, Emoshi and Emoquan both turned around and looked at the 2 remaining disciples of Emoja, with cold and strange eyes. They had turned into zombies, but there were too many bosses in this dark place, which directly suppressed them, allowing them to temporarily suppress their bloodthirsty nature. They are so taciturn. It seems they have really understood the true meaning of the Silent Way. Junior brother, quickly absorb them. The one who stops speaks. As for Emoja, looking at Emoshi and Emoquan, he was a little suspicious. Because he was also a little unsure about these 2 people. It's the same as before when we were silent and fighting. This is outrageous. I am a silent person, and I want to follow the silent path. However, I can't even understand the true meaning of the devil's path that my disciple has understood. However, after hearing Zhizhe's urging, he bit the bullet and said, "Okay. No matter, let's absorb it first." Immediately, the black curtain fell. In the Tao scenery of Silencer, only 4 of the 9 dark stars were left that failed to absorb the true meaning of the devil. At this moment, the Tao scenery shrouded Emoshi and Emoquan. Both of them entered his Taoist scenery and merged into the 2 dark stars. The 2 dark stars represent the 2 desires of the Silent One, power and corpse. Silently, merge into the big star. Something's wrong. At this moment, that involuntary feeling appeared again. The Silent One suddenly felt that he had a bloodthirsty desire, and he was extremely thirsty for the blood of dark creatures. It's not right, it's completely wrong. Is this really a silent way? He felt that what he cultivated was like a demonic path. However, at this moment he could no longer control himself. At the same time, as Xuanhuan was also devoured, his bloodthirsty desire became more intense, and he also had a strange thought. Master, the girl in purple skirt. Such a thought flashed through his mind. Xuanhuan, how can there be a master? Wait a minute, something's wrong, something's wrong. He wanted to shout, but it was too late. Xuanhuan and Shi were completely integrated into each other. Boom. The Silent One woke up dazedly, as if he had had a dream. At this moment, his consciousness recovered, but he felt like there were countless thoughts rising in his heart. Junior brother, what's wrong? The Dark One asked expectantly. Senior brother, you look so delicious. The silent person said something subconsciously, but then quickly changed his words and said, Senior brother, what should we do next? The Dark One said in a deep voice. Wait. Those ants successfully created the world and provided the coordinates for the dark world at the end of the world, waiting for that dark world to come to the forbidden world. When the time comes, there will be a big war. The dark world at the end of the world can just serve as our dark sky to see if that person's realm has fallen. At the same time, a small mountain village. In the small courtyard, Li Fan finally completed the third calendar. Shinto wall calendar. This is really the same as back then. The second uncle and Uncle Zhang both spoke in surprise. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Gui Xin. Chapter 1196. Don't worry, you two, nothing will happen to the village. Li Fan smiled and spoke. When the second uncle and Uncle Zhang saw this, they were both a little relieved. Back then, the Great Master said that when the taboo calendar was also destroyed, the whole world would be over. But now, not only has the taboo calendar not disappeared, but even the immortals, saints, the divine calendar reappears. It shouldn't be a big problem. Master, we are back. At this time, Wu Dade's voice sounded outside the small courtyard. Come in. When Li Fan opened his mouth, he saw that Wu Dade and others had already pushed in the door. Also coming back with them were Ziling and Lin Zhuchen. You are back. Li Fan looked at the two people and couldn't help but feel happy. Master. Ziling and Lin Zhuchen both stepped forward excitedly and saluted. Greetings, Master. Master, we have missed you. There was a hint of choking in Ziling's words. Now that she has returned to the small mountain village and sees her master again, she can no longer suppress her longing for him. Why are you crying? Isn't this back? I'm not going anywhere in the future. Li Fan comforted softly. Ziling nodded and said, I will never leave Master again. Master, you will not leave us either, right? There was a hint of worry in her eyes. The path of a spark that started a prairie fire cannot be followed. What method will Master use to deal with the darkness? Will not. Li Fan spoke softly. Yes, Master. Lin Zhuchen said, the two lamps we found have problems. He immediately took out two lamps of origin. When Li Fan saw this, he hurriedly tried to stop him, but it was too late. The second uncle and Uncle Zhang are still here. Damn it, my secret is about to be exposed now. Sure enough, the second uncle and Uncle Zhang were immediately puzzled when they saw the two ancient bronze lamps. Xiaolin, where did you get this lamp? That's not right. The master of dancing said that he would have people deliver the lanterns to the village for us. How did it fall into your hands? As they asked questions, they looked at Li Fan doubtfully. Li Fan pretended to be calm, his face became calm, and he said. Second uncle, Uncle Zhang, the prophecy of the great god Tiao is not accurate, these lamps are antiques that my disciples found from outside and have nothing to do with his prophecies. This is enough to show that his prediction back then was just nonsense and not worth paying attention to. When the second uncle and Uncle Zhang heard this, they couldn't help but nodded. It makes sense. When the great master Tiao left, Xiao Li hadn't come to the village yet, and Xiao Li knew more than the great master Tiao. The second uncle muttered. Uncle Zhang said directly, in this case, there is no need to worry about it. Xiling girl and Xiaolin just happened to be back. They are happy today, master, let's go, follow me to kill the pig, let's start the banquet. He stood up immediately. A group of Li Fan's disciples were all delighted when they heard this. Kill the pig for rice. Very good. They cheered. Who can kill a pig to feed me? Wait, I'll call everyone to kill 2 more sheep and some chickens. The banquet must look like a banquet. The second uncle also smiled and spoke. Li Fan said, Second uncle, will this be a bit of a waste? This is not a holiday, the scene is a bit big. What a waste. If the prophecy of the jumping god is true, then everyone will die sooner or later, so we have to eat enough as soon as possible. If the prophecy is false, it will be even more worthy of celebration. Killing some livestock is just right. Uncle Zhang and the second uncle are both very understanding. When they said this, Li Fan didn't say anything. He smiled and said, Okay, let's have a dinner. Tonight, you won't come home until you're drunk. The village suddenly became lively. Uncle Zhang drove 2 pigs out of the pen, the second uncle caught 5 or 6 chickens, and Aunt Wan caught a bunch of ducks and geese. Although it is not Chinese New Year, it is better than Chinese New Year. Master, I want to eat braised duck feet. Master, I want to eat beggar's chicken. The poor monk loves braised elbow the most. Li Fan also came with a group of disciples, and everyone enthusiastically signed up. Li Fan smiled, put on his apron, walked over, and started cooking. Soon, all kinds of delicacies were served on the table. Braised duck feet, beggar's chicken, braised pork knuckles, Buddha jumping over the wall, roasted whole lamb, braised whole lamb, roasted suckling pig, steamed sea bass, old duck soup, dry pot goose feet wings, hot beef. Wow, so rich. I haven't eaten so well during the Chinese New Year. So many delicious foods. Zi Ling and others' eyes were shining. Let's eat. Everyone sat together. Li Fan smiled and said, he gave Xiling a lot of meat and said, I've only been away from home for a few days, and I've already lost weight, eat more. Zi Ling nodded excitedly, and then started to feast. Qing Chen was munching on the braised pork knuckle, without any trace of a monk. Wu Dade was munching on the pork trotters. After eating all the meat, he threw it to the big black dog, which made the big black dog bark. Subakian, while tasting the old duck soup, Lin Zhichuan tore into a piece of roasted lamb leg and ate it. Long Zixuan took advantage of everyone not paying attention and quietly picked up a large piece of fish. Li Fan was also quite happy, it was still the same as before, it seemed that nothing had changed. It's just that Yun 11, Nan Feng, Zhang Li, Xianning, Zhang Shui and the others haven't come back yet. After finishing the meal, everyone gathered around the bonfire, singing, dancing, and laughing. The interest of the villagers seemed to be even higher than usual. Go and dig out the oldest wine. We won't come back until we get drunk today. Li Fan also spoke. Wu Dade and Lu Rang immediately went to get the wine, and when they returned a short time later, the aroma of wine filled the place. Unconsciously, it has been 7 years. Li Fan raised his glass. It has been 7 years since he came to the village. Xiao Li, drink. The second uncle raised his glass and everyone started drinking. The 7-year-old wine has a strong aroma and great stamina. Xiling, Subakian, Wu Date and others were already drunk after not drinking much. Even the villagers, who had always had a good drinking capacity, were intoxicated. If there is wine in life, you must be drunk. Not a drop of it will ever reach the underworld. The master of dance is right, drink. Last night I dreamed that the whole village was filled with black fog. According to the master of dance, something bad is coming. Everyone, drink up. Everything said by the dancing master is true. Xiao Li, come, let me have a drink with you. The villagers were excited, and many people spoke. They mentioned dancing master and their dream last night. It was not just the second uncle and Uncle Zhang who had dreams last night, but everyone in the village had similar dreams. Black fog descends and the village is destroyed. The master dancer has a high prestige in the village. Before Li Fan came to the village, he was the most respected person in the village and led the village to fight against many disasters. Therefore, even though Li Fan reassured the second uncle and Uncle Zhang, the villagers' sense of crisis has not been relieved, and they all felt that there would be a catastrophe in the near future. Perhaps, this is the reason why they took out all the good things at home today and had a feast together to eat and drink. Although they know that big things may happen in the future, they are all open-minded, without the worries and fears of ordinary people, and welcome everything calmly. Li Fan noticed this. He just smiled slightly, raised his glass and drank with everyone, but didn't say much. Now, in the Kunlun realm at the junction of Taiyang continent and Taiyang continent, it's speeding up. The dark world is coming faster and faster. What is that? Black rays of light are shooting towards the forbidden world. The world was shocked. Mu Qianning and Wu Xiaoqan were watching all this. I saw those black lights, wrapped in some scriptures, bamboo slips, black copper scrolls, etc., transcending the steps of time and reaching the barrier with the real world. The power of reality is rejecting those dark things. Scriptures are burning, bamboo slips are destroyed, and black copper scrolls are twisted. The dark world exists in the past years. The time and space coordinates are located in the chaotic civilization, and it is difficult to pass through the barrier of time. But, right now, in a certain direction of Zhuzhu, suddenly there was a shocking gray fog, approaching the barrier of time, seeming to be leading. Some scriptures, bamboo slips, etc., guided by the present world, finally penetrated the barrier of time and fell into the taboo world. No. There's someone in this world to help. Wu Xiaoqan was shocked. Grey Mist Continent. Mu Qianning opened her mouth and said. Grey Mist Continent dares to risk the disapproval of the world and lead the darkness. Good night. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Gui Xin. Chapter 1197. That night, the world was shocked. Since the successful creation of the Kunlun world, everyone in the world has been paying attention to the dark world coming along the road of time. Nowadays, the dark world passes bamboo slips and other things to the taboo world, and someone actually guides them, allowing those things to cross the barrier of time. This directly triggers a shock in the world. What's going on? Is the dark world sending something to our world? Those things wouldn't be able to get through if the barrier of time blocks it? Grey Mist Continent, this is the direction of Grey Mist Continent. Someone is guiding us. Is it the Grey Emperor who takes action? Focus on all parties. Grey Mist Continent, risking the disapproval of the world, are you trying to become an enemy of the entire forbidden world? The birth of Grey Mist is originally related to Black Mist. This is to betray the world. Traitor, attack Grey Mist Continent and kill the traitor. For a time, anger grew among all parties, and Grey Mist Continent became the public enemy of the world. And at this moment, Grey Mist Island. Different from the other 8 continents, every inch of gray mist continent is filled with strange gray mist. For countless years, this entire continent has been regarded as a forbidden area by the world, and ordinary people dare not approach it at all. Because the strange spirits generated in the gray mist will kill all life that comes close. Moreover, in a certain sense, gray fog has some characteristics of black fog, which is indelible and indestructible. This continent is a kingdom of strange spirits, with no animals or plants. In the center of the gray mist continent, the Gray Emperor's imperial court. The gray bricks and tiles build a strange giant palace. Now, the gray soldiers transformed into millions of strange spirits stand silently in the Gray Mist Emperor's court like sculptures. Outside, on the wall of the imperial court, a dozen gray mist princes appeared, guarding a gray staircase. The gray stairs extended out from the Gray Mist imperial court, as if they had crossed the barrier between reality and the past, arriving at the edge of time. From the insurmountable barrier of time, they brought back volumes of dark packages. Things. It was a bamboo slip and a black jade book. The bamboo slips and jade books came along the gray stairs and entered the Gray Mist imperial court. In the center of the Gray Mist imperial court, there is no throne or imperial palace. It is actually a deserted place with only a deep ancient well. The wellhead is made of gray stones, about 10 meters square. Jade books and bamboo slips were rolled on the gray steps, and they were submerged into the ancient well. There was darkness in the ancient well. At the bottom of the well, there was actually light black water, and in the well water, a small stone platform was built. On the stone platform, a sculpture-like middle-aged man sat cross-legged. He was wearing a gray robe, and even his hair was gray. It seemed that there was no brilliance in his world, and gray was the only color. In the surrounding light black well water, there were wisps of scent that filled the air and submerged into his body. The black jade book and bamboo slips fell in front of him. The middle-aged man finally opened his gray eyes, one as if the statue that had never been moved in eternity suddenly raised its hand, and the surrounding well water was about to boil in an instant. His eyes swept over the jade books and bamboo slips. Going back to the endless years, there is only darkness and ups and downs. He whispered. Under the dome of darkness, she traveled against time and space, trying to create a pure land, but after peeking behind the dam, she finally fell into the darkness. The path of parasitism, the path of creation, the path of gray fog, are all wrong. The only way that can allow life to continue. It's the path of darkness. A different kind of emotion seemed to finally flash through his gray eyes. Even that person has returned to darkness and is sitting on the throne of darkness. He thought for a long time. The immortal land appears, the holy land emerges, and the divine realm is revived. But even if the forbidden road can be opened, so what? Even if he is still here, he can't save the world. The white mist has long since disappeared, all hope is gone. Even after she saw the embankment, she chose the path of darkness. This is proof. The middle-aged man murmured, and a flash of white light suddenly appeared in his gray eyes, like a white rainbow flashing past at dawn. He raised his hand, and in the palm of his hand, a wisp of white mist appeared. That wisp of mist seemed like it didn't belong to this world. It was light, beautiful, clean, pure white, spotless, and as light as a beautiful dream. If you can't fight against the darkness, you can only follow the darkness. If you follow the path of darkness, you can still save many people. Being a dark creature is better than dying, isn't it? The gray mist man suddenly closed his eyes. His hands were trembling slightly. The white mist was destroyed and refined by him, and merged into a pool of light black well water. Senior, you once said that there is hope, but Xuanhuan can't see. That was the last wisp of white mist, causing the light black well water to boil at this moment. The corners of his eyes seemed to be petrified, but at this moment, a drop of gray liquid rolled down. The emergence of fairy land, holy land, and divine realm will give false hope to the world, I will make them wake up from their big dream. I will take them and live in the darkness. The grey mist man opened his eyes, and his eyes became extremely tenacious, like a warrior who gave up everything. He stood up and the next moment, he was outside the well water. I have obtained the Dark Tao Sutra and will prove the Dark Emperor. He stood tall on the entire grey mist imperial court, and his words spread throughout the entire grey mist continent. The jade book is the letter, and the bamboo slips are the scriptures. On the bamboo slips, there is a method to move from the realm of the great emperor to the emperor of heaven in the dark sky. And half of his origin is the origin of darkness, so he can use the sutra to take another step forward. The emperor is invincible. The emperor is invincible. In the endless grey mist of grey mist continent, there are countless strange creatures roaring, shouting, and worshipping the grey emperor's name. Send a message to the world to come and watch the ceremony in 3 days. Also, send my letter to the world and tell them that all roads are cut off. Giving up the forbidden path and taking the dark path is the only way to survive. The grey emperor's indifferent voice continued to sound. Suddenly, the entire grey mist imperial court moved. More than a dozen princes, with thousands of grey mist creatures, stepped out of grey mist continent and spread the word to the world. The world will slander me, but the dark road is the only way. I will be upright, accept the scolding of the world, and open a way for the world. His face was indifferent, but as determined as stone. The news spread all over the world. In 3 days, the Grey Emperor will prove to be the Dark Emperor. Is he crazy? Traitor, this traitor, he has adopted the scriptures of the dark world, and wants to completely follow the path of darkness. For a time, the entire taboo 9 continents exploded. We must never let him become the Dark Emperor. This is surrendering to the enemy. When the time comes, before the dark world arrives, the Grey Emperor will directly turn into a black disaster. Stop him, and everyone in the world will kill him. The crowd is excited. Darkness is the public enemy of the world, a knife hanging above the forbidden world. People in the world avoid him and hate him deeply. Before the dark world has arrived, he is already going to take a dark path. This makes everyone in the world angry. Everyone in the sect gathers and prepares to attack Grey Mist Continent. No one can sit back and watch. The Grey Emperor is challenging the bottom line of the world, to take action. Even though we are not the opponent of Grey Mist Continent, the Grey Emperor cannot bear the wrath of the world. Kill. On all continents, for a time, big forces and sects roared to fight against Grey Mist Continent. The Grey Emperor is going to take a dark path. At this moment, in the secret world of reincarnation, Huo Ling Mu Wanking and others were whispering. Ever since the forbidden ancient road was planted with white mist grass, white mist has filled the entire Grey Mist Sea, white mist ancestral realm, etc. After the black and white evolved the way of reincarnation, the world of gods, Yangjian, white mist ancestral realm, Grey Mist Sea, forbidden ancient road, etc. that the small mountain village had walked through were merged into one, forming the secret world of reincarnation. Although this world is in a secret place, the forbidden ancient road has been opened, and you can enter the forbidden world at any time. Darkness is coming, and the war is about to begin. Black and White spoke calmly and said, Senior Shulai, the banner of the Lord of Desolate Heaven, stand upright and face the darkness. Suddenly, in the Kunlun world, the banner of the Lord of Desolate Sky was raised, and in the name of the great Emperor of Samsara, he issued an order to the world. The Grey Emperor shall be executed. The great Emperor of Samsara will hold the banner of the Desolate Sky, form the Desolate Sky Alliance, and attack the Grey Mist Continent. The Wild Sky Alliance reappears. Black and White, who had become the great Emperor of Samsara, made no secret of it and appeared directly in front of the world as the great Emperor. This caused a great earthquake in the world. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Goexin. Chapter 1198. The Emperor of Samsara is out. The way of reincarnation directly swept through Kaiwan continent, Yuzhu, Shenhuo continent, Lingmu continent, Taiyang continent, and Taiyang continent. Since Black and White regained control of reincarnation, they have been working steadily to gradually bring the taboo world under the rule of reincarnation. Because, only in this way, when the creatures in the forbidden world die, can they be reborn in reincarnation. Reincarnation is a backup plan. When the entire taboo world is destroyed and all living things in the world die, as long as reincarnation is still there, you can reappear from reincarnation. Now, the way of reincarnation has manifested itself, and all living beings in the world are aware of it. The great Emperor of reincarnation, is this the return of the way of reincarnation? In ancient times, the way of reincarnation was taboo, no one could make it to the end. Reincarnation reappears. Behind the Golden Age, the wheels of history have already rolled in. Who is the Lord of Desolate Heaven, whom even the Emperor of Reincarnation respects? Why have I never heard of him? For a time, all the continents in the world responded, heading to the Wild Sky Alliance to conquer the Grey Mist continent. The Desolate Sky Alliance held a gathering of cultivators from all over the world in the Kunlun realm. In just a few days, tens of millions of people joined the Desolate Sky Alliance. Its power was far greater than any other imperial court in the world. Under the alliance, there are 10 commanders in total, including Huo Ling Mu Wanqing, Mu Jianing, Wu Xiaokan, Yun Chen, Chang Sun Changqing, etc., each leading an army of 1 million. The Immortal Land, the Holy Land, the Divine Land, and now the Great Way of Reincarnation has been added to the world, giving the world confidence. In the Kunlun realm, within the established Wild Sky Alliance, Huo Ling and others were quite emotional. In the once forbidden world, people would change their color when they heard the darkness, but now, after the Grey Emperor surrendered to the enemy, the whole world dared to attack him in groups. There is no doubt that everything is because Senior Li gave the world confidence. After all, when Fairy Land, Holy Land, etc. appeared, the most powerful people in the darkness took action, but they were all blocked. Now everyone knows that after the Desolate Sky Alliance, there are masters who can compete with the strongest in the darkness. Lord of the Wild Sky. Therefore, the 4 words Lord of the Wild Sky quickly became the belief of the world. Darkness comes to the world, and a war is coming. This battle is the first battle against darkness in this world. Perhaps the overall situation of eternity will be affected from this. Black and White stared at the flying flag in front of the Desolate Sky Alliance and said, "I'm going to the small mountain village to see Senior Li." Huo Linger and others also said, "We will go too." And at this moment, a dark place somewhere. That dark world is approaching the present world. The Grey Emperor has accepted the Dark Taoist Sutra and will become the Dark Emperor. Zhizhe observed the world and knew everything that happened in the forbidden world. He said, "The great way of reincarnation has also appeared in this world, raising the banner of the Lord of Desolate Sky to conquer Grey Mist continent." Hearing this, the dark man couldn't help but frown and said, "Lord of the Wild Sky? This, it seems that the person behind reincarnation is really. After all, that person came out of the land of desolate heaven. For a period of time, he was called the Lord of Desolate Heaven. The land of desolation was once an ancient place, extremely mysterious. Even under the dome of darkness, not many people knew about it. The land of wasteland is said to have existed since the period of the Immortal Way civilization. It has experienced the destruction of the Immortal Way, the death of the Holy Way, the destruction of the Divine Way, until it was destroyed by the Master when the years of chaos faded, but that person never walking out of the wasteland, he became the only exception in this world. The Silent One also whispers. Even reincarnation has appeared, his name has spread throughout the forbidden world, but you say that he has never left the village. He looked at the dark throne with some annoyance. the existence on the Dark Throne is their one eye to observe that person. Although you can't look directly at that person, every thought and thought of that person will be reflected in the heart of the being on the Dark Throne, because they are one. The being on the Dark Throne yawned, stretched, and said, "Kid, are you doubting me?" As he spoke, there seemed to be an invisible energy coming down from the Dark Throne. And he was shocked and hurriedly released his own Hideo, trying to stop the invisible energy. Even the surrounding Dark Ones and Silent Ones were instantly frozen, and their bodies and thoughts could no longer move. However, the chi machine hanging down from the Dark Throne was not affected at all, falling directly and turning into a slap. He closed his eyes, feeling extremely nervous. He knew that he was going to be whipped. However, the slap only lightly tapped his shoulder and then disappeared. The voice from the Dark Throne came lazily and said, "Forget it, there's no point in beating you." After saying that, there seemed to be rhythmic breathing again on the Dark Throne, and the existence seemed to be asleep. When Zhizhe heard this, he breathed a long sigh of relief and released himself from the path of immobility. "It's even more outrageous than the dancing master." He couldn't help but speak and murmured, "Even if a great master can break my path of immobility, it won't be so easy and direct." The Dark One said in a deep voice, "You are in trouble." He said, "I am also a little too concerned." "But what now?" The Dark One thought for a moment and said, "We have to help the Grey Emperor. If he can prove to be the Emperor of Heaven, he can disrupt the entire Forbidden World. The Emperor of Samsara has come out. I'm afraid it won't help if ordinary people go there. Do you and I have to go for a while?" But, at this moment, in the depths of this dark land, an old voice suddenly sounded from a dark door. "I go." Hearing this sound, Zhizhe and Yinzhe were both shocked and turned their heads hurriedly. Even the breathing on the Dark Throne seemed to slow down slightly. "I saw an old man walking out of the door. He was like a magic stick, with some ancient bones hanging around his neck, a dancing knife on his waist, and a gong and drum on his back. His eyes were filled with black mist. The one who dances like a master. Why did you show up?" Both of them were shocked. This old man is clearly a master of dancing. He walked over slowly and said, "He has almost completed the last step, but you idiots have no idea that if I don't show up, the entire Dark Dome will be buried by you." Hearing this, both Dark One and Zhizhe were stunned for a moment. Are you talking about the one from the village? The one who stops speaks? Who else?" the master dance asked rhetorically. Zhizhe said, "The origins of his immortal way, holy way, and divine way have been lost, and his realm will fall, and the situation of destroying the source and burning the universe will be completed. At that time, with the help of the burning universe formation, using the dark origin of the entire Dark Dome as fire, will refining him completely." Master Tiao's expression was sinister, and he suddenly slapped him. Zhi's expression changed greatly and he said, "Stop." However, at this moment, the Master of Darkness Tiao changed his hands into several ways, and unexpectedly lost control and slapped Zhi hard on the face. Snapped. A crisp sound sounded. "You." The stopper retreated continuously. As the best among the supreme, at this moment, he seemed frightened and helpless. The infinite way cannot be limited. The Dark One murmured and told the truth. The god of Tiao used some ancient and powerful supreme method. Destroy the source and burn the universe? Ridiculous. The Dark God jumped indifferently and said, "I am the third best person in the world, and I never dare to take any chances on him. How come you can deal with and scheme against him? It's stupid to not know it." Hearing this, the Dark One said anxiously, "You mean, he has lost many of his origins, and they are all fake, and he is plotting against us?" Dark jumping God's way. It is true that many of the origins have been lost, but the realm has fallen? It is nonsense. The path he is taking is unprecedented and unprecedented. The black light in his eyes was extremely cold, and he said, even I can't see the mystery of this clearly. However, if you really take the dark origin of the entire Dark Dome as a bet and build the universe-burning formation, just it will be a total failure. Zhizhe, Yinji, etc. all have extremely ugly faces. They dare not doubt the words of Master Tiao. Were we wrong from the beginning? I'm really obsessed, Master Tiao is right. Can we plot against him? I'm probably in his trap without even realizing it. Thinking of this, they were all frightened. What should we do? Now, he has only the last source of chaos left. The stopper asked urgently. The dancing master said calmly. Your master has walked out of the embankment, to find him. Hearing this, several people were even more shocked. Master, is out. They were shocked. Good night. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Goexin. Chapter 1199. Master, moved. Zhiji and others were all stunned. It seems, that person has really walked out of some kind of avenue that we can't find out, otherwise, he wouldn't have alerted the master. The Dark One whispers. If the master moves, will there be a war? No matter what path that person takes, there is no choice but to end it. Zhiji whispered excitedly. When can we kill the Forbidden World? Before, we were afraid of that person and didn't dare to take action. Now that the master has arrived, we can destroy this world. They looked at Tiao Dashan and asked. Master is their greatest confidence. Master Tiao said coldly, wait. Wait for your master's order. Hearing this, the Dark One and others nodded. Are you the Silent One? The Dark Master suddenly looked at Silencer. Exactly. The Silent One nodded. The Dark Dance Master frowned and said, there seems to be something wrong with your silent way. He was about to check, when suddenly a voice sounded from the Dark Throne. Wizard, we haven't seen each other for many years, please stop bullying these children. A dark chi machine descended, and dense black chess lines suddenly appeared in front of Master Tiao. Next round. The being on the Dark Throne spoke. The great god of darkness looked at the Dark Throne, bowed, and said. I know I'm outmatched and don't want to fight. Then you have to get off. The voice from the Dark Throne was cold. Winning me will give you a sense of accomplishment. The Dark Dance Master raised his eyebrows. The voice on the Dark Throne said casually, I want to see you dance the great dance, don't you? If you lose a round, you will dance until I get tired of watching it. The Dark Master was a little angry and said. Why? I'm the second best in the world and I'm better than you, don't you accept it? Hearing this, the dark jumping god seemed to have a different kind of fluctuation in his eyes. He suddenly smiled, and there seemed to be a hint of desolation in his black eyes, saying. Second in the world, this is the first time I hear this sentence from you. Darkness gave you my destination, and also gave me my sanity, even you have surrendered and resigned yourself to others. Haha, in that case, let's go to the next round, then the next round. He sat down and played chess with the beings on the Dark Throne, no longer caring about the Silent One, the Stopper and others. Zhiji and others looked at each other. Senior brother, what should we do? Zhiji asked. The Dark One thought for a moment and said. Listen to him and wait. However, junior brother Silence, your two disciples can be sent to the Forbidden World first, to the Grey Mist continent. The Grey Emperor is going to take the path of darkness, those in the gate of 10,000 Daos will inevitably be shaken. If they go there silently, they can gain the knowledge of 10,000 Daos. In addition, if they are killed in a big battle, they can be killed silently in the blood to prove their killing. The ultimate in Tao. The Silent One nodded and said, I know silently kill. You go. Immediately, his last two apprentices, Moj and Moshat, left. Silent knowledge and silent killing respectively represent the silent person's desire for knowledge and killing. I have an idea. At this time, the silent one spoke again and said, "Two senior brothers, I will prove the supreme way. At that time, I can bless future generations. I want the other side of the dark sky to send young talents over to accept me. Baptism, how about it?" There seemed to be a trace of nervousness in his eyes. During this period of time, he kept having many strange thoughts out of nowhere. I want to strangle the younger geniuses in the vault of darkness. Want to devour the flesh and blood of dark creatures. Even when he saw the necks of the two senior brothers, he always felt itchy and wanted to take a bite. Fortunately, his two senior brothers are supreme, and their aura can keep him awake at any time. However, he did not dare to bite his senior brother, but the thoughts in his heart were suppressed. Now, he has some ulterior motives and wants to find something edible and biteable from the dark dome. "Sure. Zhij," he said, "it just so happens that Master has been dispatched. I think it won't take long before this world can be completely wiped out. It's time for those young people in the dark dome to train their troops." He snaps his fingers. A message has passed through the dark door and disappeared into the dark dome behind the door. Suddenly, in the silent, dark dome of darkness, on the big dark stars, voices suddenly sounded. "Conquer the forbidden world. The descendants are training. The strongest descendants of this star must gather immediately and go to that realm to train with Lord Silent One. That forbidden world is the final disturbance to the original laws of the universe, and it should be punished. Lord Silent One is the only one who has realized the supreme at that time. Following him will be of great benefit to you and others. Go." In the vast dark space, black bridges suddenly appeared. On the bridges, many dark creatures gathered, eventually forming an army with millions of people. The weakest members of this army are all at the Heavenly King level, and there are even dark emperors among them. They are all strong men from the dark stars, and are the seeds and hopes of the dark stars. Now, they are all handed over to the Silent One. They slowly pass through the dark door. And at this moment, Kaiwan in the forest of terrifying beasts. The Black and White Emperor, Huo Ling Mu Wanking, and others have arrived and are about to go to the small mountain village. Wrong. At this time, Black and White suddenly frowned and said, "The land ahead is no longer accessible to you or me." Huo Ling and others were slightly shocked. This place looks, nothing unusual, right? They wonder. Every inch of soil seems to have turned into a galaxy, and every leaf seems to have turned into the universe, but it's quiet, as if everything has stopped, as if some have fallen into some wonderful state. If you enter among them, it is unimaginable. Black and white light flashed in his black and white eyes, and his eyes were extremely serious. At this moment, under a large locust tree in front, a stone table and a game of chess suddenly appeared. On the other side of the stone table, a man in white robes appeared. He sat on one side of the stone table. His long, snow-white hair was spotless and flowed like a waterfall. His face looked like he was only 40 or 50 years old, as calm as water. His face seemed to possess the indifference that had gone through the vicissitudes of time, and he could see through the depth of the cycle of life and death, and his eyes were like stars in the universe. He looked at Black and White, smiled slightly, and said, "How about I give you an opportunity? If you can hold on for 30 moves in a game of chess, you will immediately realize the supreme power, and I will not be reincarnated within 30,000 years. If you can play chess, you will transcend all supreme beings. Reincarnation is your forbidden land, and my disciples will not step into it. If you can beat me, that's it, just don't tell me." His smile was as warm as the wind, elegant and transcendent. He was sitting there, but he seemed to be far away from the world, not in this time, as if he was speaking across endless time and space. Huolinger and others were all very surprised. Huolinger subconsciously wanted to take out the Li Tianxian palace given by Li Fan, and Mu Jianing was also planning to take off the hairpin given by Li Fan. The enemy, the ultimate enemy. This is the only thought in their hearts, because when they face this person, they are just like facing senior Li. They can't feel the fluctuations of the other person at all, just like mortals, as if they don't exist. However, Black and White stopped them and said calmly, "No need, it makes no sense. You go back and lead the people to continue attacking Grey Mist Continent. Do as much as you can." Then, he walked step by step to the other side of the stone table. "Then start making moves." Small village. In the early morning, Li Fan woke up, and Ziling and Subakian brought hot water. Li Fan once again lived a privileged life of washing his face and being cared for. The weather was perfect. After breakfast, Li Fan said, "Ziling, Baijian, let's go, I'll take you out to collect the wind." Since entering this world, Li Fan has been thinking about his disciples. He hasn't gone out to enjoy the scenery for a long time. Now that everyone has gradually returned, his mood has gradually improved, and the desire to go out and paint has arisen spontaneously. "Okay, master." Immediately, Xiling and Subakian packed their things. Li Fan took the kitten with him, 3 people and 1 cat, and immediately left the courtyard. After walking out of the small courtyard, Li Fan did not leave directly. Instead, he took his 2 disciples and walked around the village casually. The tea garden is still there, new tea is sprouting, and it is full of green. The fields are all green, the fields are full of tender crops, and they are full of life. Chickens and dogs hear each other, children chase each other, and there is fun everywhere. The villagers are simple, working and singing, and all they see are relatives and friends. "Master, you have traveled throughout the village, what are you looking for?" Having already walked out of the village, Ziling asked with her big eyes flashing. Li Fan said, "Fireworks. The smoke and smoke in the world are the most soothing to mortal hearts." He sighed softly and said, "The mushrooms of the morning do not know the new moon, and the crickets do not know the spring and autumn. Throughout this life, in this vast river of time, they are just like the mushrooms of the morning. Their lives are boundless, and their pursuits are boundless, but in the end they gain nothing. Abandon prosperity, and you will see simplicity, get rid of illusion, and you will find reality, and everything will return to ordinary." Hearing this, Ziling and Subaijian's eyes were a little confused. It was difficult for them to detect what Li Fan meant by his words. "Let's take you on an outing." Li Fan didn't say much and walked outside the mountain village. As they walked, Ziling and Subakian suddenly had an inexplicable feeling, as if they were no longer walking in this world, as if they had stepped into a universe that transcended time and space. "Master, why do I feel that the path we are taking is different from before?" Subakian couldn't help but speak. When Li Fan heard this, he smiled lightly and said, "You must take a new road to see new scenery." Ziling said, "Master, then, where are we going?" Li Fanyuan pointed to the mountain and said, "Go to the highest point here and draw an ordinary picture." He took Ziling and Subakian through the seemingly ordinary but mysterious mountain forest, and then climbed to the highest mountain peak. Taking every stone step, climbing every mountain ridge, Ziling and Subakian suddenly felt as if they had completely escaped from the space and time in the forbidden world, as if they had climbed to another wonderful place. They looked back subconsciously, but were shocked to see that the ocean of cause and effect was undulating like mist, reaching only the foot of the mountain, and the river of time flowing like a stream, only reaching the mountainside. This mountain peak seems to be beyond the ocean of cause and effect, as if it was far before the birth of time. There is no scenery on the mountain, only a flat open space and a dead old pine tree, which looks so ordinary and simple. and when Li Fan took them to the top, they saw a man in white robes and white hair waiting for a long time under the dead old pine tree on the top of the mountain. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 1200. Attack Grey Mist Continent. Kill. We must not let the Grey Emperor realize the Dark Emperor, otherwise the world will be in chaos. In the Kunlun realm, tens of millions of troops have been assembled. Huo Ling Mu Jianing, Mu Wanking, and Wu Xiaokan have all returned. Let's go, to Grey Mist Continent. Facing an army of tens of millions, Huo Ling gave the order to attack. Miss Ling I would like to ask, where is the Black and White Emperor? Senior Li, do you have any guidance on this matter? Yun 11's father, Yun Chen, asked. He was originally a genius in the God realm. He had been dormant until now, but his cultivation soared to the sky, and he had reached the realm of the Heavenly King. Senior Li is facing a more terrifying enemy. Huo Ling didn't hide anything from Yun Chen and others, saying, the Black and White Emperor will not be able to come back for the time being. Hearing this, Yun Chen, Chang Sun Chang Qing and others were slightly shocked. I understand, it seems that the decisive battle with darkness will come sooner than you and I imagined. In this case, let's do our best. Chang Sun Chang Qing spoke calmly. When he was in the Chaos Ancestral Realm, he had been dormant in the Temple of the Sacrifice of the World, plowing the streets and sweeping caves. He had been undercover for several years and killed many traitors in the Temple of the Sacrifice of the World. He definitely lacked courage. Kill. Let's take action on that bastard Grey Emperor first. Ji Wuden, Chang Sun Bumi, Wu Jianghe, and others also shouted. Suddenly, tens of millions of troops gathered and marched towards Grey Mist Continent. Now. Outside Grey Mist Continent. Darkness is coming, the Grey Emperor is coming to greet us. 2 Black Avenue bridges are laid out. On the bridge of the avenue, there is the silent knowledge and silent killing coming from the dark place. Suddenly, the billowing grey fog suddenly dispersed, and on a grey fog avenue, several grey fog princes arrived to greet them personally. The distinguished guests from the Dark Vault have arrived, and the Grey Mist Emperor's court is extremely pleased, please. Deep in the Grey Fog Emperor's court, the Grey Emperor's voice came. Silent knowledge and silent killing, enter along the Grey Fog Avenue. These ghost things are a bit troublesome, not simple. Mo Sha glanced at the endless strange creatures hidden in the billowing grey mist, and couldn't help but speak. Grey mist creatures have the attributes of black mist, mixed with the origin of white mist. Grey mist, he, the son of darkness and white mist, but he is neither as good as black mist nor as white mist. Mazai smiled slightly. They arrived at a desolate land at the core of the Grey Mist Imperial Court. In a deserted land, at the mouth of an ancient well, the Grey Emperor, dressed in grey robes, was closing his eyes to meditate. In the mouth of the well, billowing light black origin chi surged towards him. If you want to follow the path of darkness, you should use the pure source of black mist. Mo Sha spoke indifferently, and with a wave of his hand, a ball of strange black mist fell in front of the Grey Emperor. The Grey Emperor opened his eyes indifferently, accepted the origins, and said, "Thank you very much. I'll use it again when I attack the Heavenly Emperor realm." Moj said calmly. The two of us were ordered to come here for 2 things. First, I want to go to the gate of 10,000 Daos. Second, my junior brother, Silent Kill, will wait for the big battle in Grey Mist Continent and bloodbath all creatures in this world. Grey Emperor said. The gate of 10,000 Daos. I can contact them, but I'm afraid they may not accept the darkness. Moj smiled and said. Those who know the current affairs are outstanding. I believe you are not the only one. The Grey Emperor pondered for a moment and said. Good. Come with me. Not long after, the Grey Emperor took Mog and entered a mountain covered with grey mist. The existences in the Gate of 10,000 Daos, in the ancient past, were not aloof, but were willing to preach to the world. There are 9 Taoist platforms left in Zhuzhou. If there are qualified seekers in this world, they can pass through the Taoist platforms and enter them. On the top of the mountain, there is a dusty Taoist platform. On the Taoist platform, there is a dense line of strange words engraved on it. Those strange words contain great knowledge, which is incomprehensible to ordinary people. Only those with great wisdom can understand it. Only those who can comprehend can enter the Gate of 10,000 Ways. This is the threshold. Mazai smiled slightly, walked to the front, silently studied the details, and said. Something interesting, the Gate of 10,000 Daos is indeed a supreme place. At the same time, at this moment, one of the 9 continents, take Xuanhuan continent. This continent is adjacent to Grey Mist continent. At this moment, a group of people suddenly appeared on a high mountain in Taixuan continent. The first one among them is a girl in a white dress. She has bright eyes and is otherworldly. Butterflies occasionally fly between her sleeves. There were 4 more people following her. A woman with a long harp on her back, dressed in a light yellow dress, is dignified and beautiful, with a peerless appearance. A young man with a turtle as a chessboard has a calm expression and a hint of melancholy in his eyes. A little girl, who looked to be only 8 or 9 years old, was carrying a book box. She had a box of books on her back, and her petite body was in sharp contrast to the book box. A woman in a white shirt has a temperament as cold as an iceberg, and her calm eyes are as clean as if they have been washed by pure snow after experiencing blood. These 5 people are surprisingly Yongzi, Nanfan, Zhongli, Xining, and Zhongshui. After they entered the Forbidden World, unlike others, they landed directly in the area with the Lamp of Origin. Recently, there was a sudden change in Grey Mist continent, and they got together. There is one in Grey Mist continent, and the other 3 are all in that dark world. Yun 11 opened his mouth and said that the dark world he was talking about was the one created by 10,000 Daos end and coming along the road of time. We have to wait until that dark world has completely descended, and when the door to the world opens, we can sneak in. She found Nanfan and others just for that dark world. When that dark world comes, darkness will come in full force, we don't have time. She spoke. Sister Yongzi, what should we do? Xining asked. Yongzi rode. You go to the Gate of 10,000 Daos first. Darkness is really coming, and those beings in the Gate of 10,000 Daos may surrender to the enemy. If you can smell 10,000 Daos in the Gate of 10,000 Daos within tens of thousands of years, they will not dare to act rashly. In this way, there will be no worries. When the army of the Desolate Sky Alliance arrives and Miss Zhongshui takes action against Grey Mist continent, I will go to the Dark World with Sister Nanfan and Zhongli. Her face was full of determination. Good. Xining nodded, carrying the box of books on her back, and walked towards a Taoist platform in front of her. On the Taoist platform, there are many Taoist characters engraved on it, which cannot be understood by anyone but a great wise man. Is this the question of the great Dao? It's not difficult. Is there really profound knowledge in that door? She glanced at it, a little confused, but took action immediately. At this moment, somewhere is extremely secret. A huge stone door stands in the middle of nothingness, as if it is unknowable. I felt the fluctuations on the other side of the dike. Someone came out, someone must have come out. An old voice was trembling with fear. The master of the dark vault, it must be him. A catastrophe is coming, a catastrophe is coming, who can turn the tide in this life? Don't have any illusions. Even if that person is not completely dead yet and really still has another body in this world, so what? This door is full of incomplete supreme beings. But now, everyone is scared and desperate. It's better to embrace the darkness and become a dark creature. Someone whispered. Confused, have you forgotten why dark creatures exist? Dark creatures are reincarnated from the dead of the immortal, holy, divine, and chaotic ways. They can be reincarnated because the forbidden civilization still exists. The other side of the dam allows them to become slaves and enforce the laws of darkness. But if the forbidden civilization is destroyed and the last fire is extinguished, will the dark creatures still exist? The entire dark dome will disappear and return to deathly silence and coldness. Yes, this law is ruthless. All things are like bastards. Dark creatures are also living things and will disappear completely. The reason why the Dark Dome still exists now is because the fire of civilization in the forbidden world is still burning. This group of supreme beings are whispering and telling secrets. Even the Dark Vault, in front of the universe, will return to nothingness and death. Although dark life has lost the warmth and enthusiasm of life, it is still life, and it is also not tolerated by the universe. Just because the forbidden world still exists, the dead people can be transformed into dark creatures and implement the so-called law. When the forbidden world passes away, the dark creatures will also be completely extinct. If that person really still exists in this world, I hope he can live a long time. An old voice whispered, saying, if he is alive, we can transform into dark creatures to deal with him and deal with the fire of civilization he created. If he is dead, we don't even have to turn into dark creatures. Where should we go now? Take refuge in the darkness. Become a dark creature? But that will eventually disappear. Being an enemy of darkness? We might die now. The gate of 10,000 paths fell into a long silence. Someone has passed the test and wants to enter the gate of 10,000 daos. At this time, someone suddenly spoke. Wait a minute, the way this person uses, is very similar to that one. Is he his descendant? Is this another terminal point? We have to guard against it? If it's related to him, we can't put it in rashly now, otherwise, we will be targeted by the darkness. In the gate of 10,000 ways, quarrels continue. After a long time, another person has passed the test of the Great Road. This time, it's a dark creature. At this time, someone spoke again. That, darkness is coming at the same time. This, how should I choose? Are you asking us to choose a side? These existences were instantly caught in a dilemma. Let them all in. At this moment, a loud voice sounded, saying, since it's hard to make a choice, let's see first, the person sent and the person sent by the darkness, who is stronger and weaker. Hearing this, everyone in the 10,000 ways gate became quiet and reached a consensus. On a high peak, elusive light suddenly shone, and in front of the Taoist platform, a grand staircase appeared. At the end of the staircase, it looked like a huge stone door. Sister Yungzi, Sister Nanfan, Brother Zhongli, Sister Zhongshui, I'm leaving first. Xining didn't look back, her little body carried the book box and walked towards the illusory road. Xining, be careful. Nanfan couldn't help but speak, his eyes filled with reluctance. Now that the war is coming, the road ahead is dangerous, and you won't know whether it will be good or bad once it's gone. Don't worry, I have to go back to see my big brother. Xianling's childish voice finally sounded, and her figure disappeared. At the same time, Grey Mist Island, high in the mountains. Mazai wiped the sweat from his head and was filled with joy and pride when he saw the illusory road in front of him. Very good. The question of the Great Dao is already very difficult. The knowledge in this section is definitely good. He stepped forward with great anticipation. Good night. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Goi Xin. Chapter 1201. A mountain of unknown height. Beyond the ocean of cause and effect, standing above the years. On the top of the mountain, there was only a pine tree that had been dead for an unknown number of years. Under the pine tree, a middle-aged man in white robes had been waiting for a long time. The scenery here is really good. Li Fan climbed to this peak, smiled slightly, and said, I have never been here before, and I never imagined that there would be such a wonderful place. After he finished speaking, the man in white robe who had been sitting under the pine tree for a long time also whispered. The scenery is very nice, but it's a pity that I've been alone for too long and it's quite lonely. Li Fan looked at him, walked over with a smile, and said, Mountains and rivers are our companions, and the breeze is our friend, so there is no such thing as loneliness. He sat opposite the middle-aged man in white robe and said, Li Fan. What is your name? A smile appeared on the gentle face of the white-robed middle-aged man, who seemed to be stopped by Li Fan's question and said, My name? I have forgotten it for many years. Well, maybe you can call me. There is no silence, or silence. There is no silence and silence. The moment these two words were spoken, Ziling and Subakian, who were standing behind Li Fan, suddenly felt an inexplicable feeling, as if the mountains, rivers, breeze, and the entire mountain that transcended time and cause and effect were all around them. It seems that it no longer exists, and there is only the true emptiness and loneliness that belongs to the universe. An inexplicable coldness swept over from all directions. That kind of coldness was not a real cold, but a kind of coldness as if the universe should be like this, making people's hearts and souls freeze forever. However, they felt that in front of them, Master Li Fan was like a fire, rolling with heat, making the bone-chilling coldness of the universe unable to invade them. At this moment, their expressions were extremely solemn. The little white cat in Li Fan's arms secretly clung to Li Fan a little tighter. At the same time, it showed its little tiger teeth towards the man in white robe opposite and waved its little paws, as if to warn him. Wuji? Wuji, Wuji, Wuji. What a good name. Li Fan rubbed Xiaobai, comforted her, praised Jizhe, and said, It's a pity that this name is too empty, lacking vitality and agility. The silent one smiled and said, The universe is like this. It is empty and lonely, motionless, soundless, lightless, and lifeless. Silence and darkness are the state of silence. Li Fan said softly, The universe is indeed like this, but it is precisely because the universe is like this that the rise and fall of the sun and the moon are so charming, the noise of the rivers is precious, the warmth of the sun is yearning, and the prosperity of life is worth cherishing. Jizhe smiled and said, I understand what you are thinking. Today you are accompanied by good friends, you have a beauty to care about, you have beliefs and ideals, friendship, love, enthusiasm, these things will give color, life, and yearning to the world you see. But the human heart comes from the universe, where there is light and darkness, and where there is movement there is stillness. When good friends die, beauty fades away. When you find that you are no more than a mayfly in this world, you cannot decide your own life and death, and you cannot choose your own ups and downs, the peaceful state of mind will arrive as promised. Li Fan smiled and said, You are right, so you must realize your weakness and ordinariness, and then in this ordinariness, find the true meaning that can always soothe your heart. Throw away your external possessions and seek for one true thought. The lonely man looked at Li Fan, thought for a long time, and said, Is this the reason why you have always been ordinary? Experience the ordinary, and then, become truly ordinary. When Li Fan heard this, he couldn't help but feel slightly depressed, and said, I'm not willing to be ordinary, but, I'm really ordinary to begin with. The man in white robe had a complicated look on his face and said, You are not ordinary, you are simply extraordinary. He didn't seem to want to say any more, so he asked, You come here to paint? Li Fan nodded, painting. The middle-aged man in white robe stretched out his hand and said, Please, I would like to watch it. Li Fan smiled and said, Zi Ling, pen and ink. Zi Ling immediately stepped forward. She spread out the rice paper for Li Fan, with the pen and ink already there. Li Fan took the pen, dipped it in ink, and then painted. Ji Jia looked at him like this, like a master who respected art and was witnessing the birth of a peerless work. He watched every stroke of Li Fan. When I write, I see the peak, the white clouds, and the ever-changing mist in the mountains. What is reflected is the extreme of this world, the passage of time, the ups and downs of cause and effect, and the countless prosperity and decline of life and death. What Li Fan painted was the scenery along the way. Along the way, Zi Ling and Subakian both felt that every step was clearly filled with years and rivers of stars, paved with a road that cannot be described in words. In Li Fan's writing at this moment, time is like grass, stars and rivers are like dust, and those unspeakable avenues have turned into ordinary paths, leading to an ordinary small village. The scroll has been divided into 8 parts, and the 8th part shows the beauty of the mountains and rivers, including the road here, the ocean of cause and effect at the foot of the mountain, and the long river of time on the mountainside. The 9th point fell, but it was the small mountain village they came from. The mountain village is ordinary and ordinary. The square house covers more than 10 acres and has 8 or 9 thatched houses. The elms and willows shade the back eaves, and the peach and plum trees in front of the hall. The warmth is far away from the village, and the smoke in the ruins is still there. Dogs bark deep in the alleys, and roosters crow at the top of the mulberry trees. There is no dust in the house and courtyard, and there is plenty of space in the empty room. When Xiling and Subakian saw the small mountain villages in Li Fan's paintings emerge one by one, they suddenly felt an inexplicable sense of peace and warmth in their hearts, as if home was right in front of them. The coldness and dead silence of the surrounding void seemed to have been completely driven away from them. They saw an old man basking in the sun at the entrance of the village, lying on a chair, smoking a dry cigarette, with a cane in his hand, looking leisurely and at ease. They saw the farmers plowing in the fields, with their feet in the soil and whips in their hands, driving their cattle forward without any distracting thoughts. They saw the women chatting in the courtyard, talking about Zhang's parents and Li's family's shortcomings, turning the boring years into trivial matters and passing them by one. They saw the green grass and green trees growing on the roadside. They worked hard to lift them up, flourishing and dying, growing in obscurity following the 4 seasons. The paintbrush is like a creation, giving life to the pale painting. And at this moment, in a small mountain village, in a small courtyard. Ouch! Here we come. In the pond, endless dragon shadows suddenly rose into the sky, and the power of the real dragon exploded, seeming to soar into the sky and destroy everything. Fight! The Dragon King is shouting. For a moment, Long Zixuan, Lu Rang, Dugu Yuking, Qing Chen, Wu Dade, Lin Zhichuan, Gong Yat and others in the small courtyard were all shocked. This is the first time that a real dragon makes such movement. Brother Long, what's coming? Long Zixuan asked. The huge shadow of the real dragon covered the sky and said. The immortal enemy, the master of the Dark Dome, the existence coming from the other side of the dam. Hearing this, Long Zixuan and others were shocked. This kind of existence, could it be that master went out today just to deal with him? Dugu Yuking whispered. Yes, I feel it, the master is looking back and anchoring here. The master must face that person. The real dragon opened his mouth and said, Fen Mu, Pan Tao, let's go. However, on the other side of the chickens, the old hen stretched its wings. The huge phoenix wings seemed to cover the sky. The old hen's cold voice sounded and said. What are you going to do? What can you do in the past? Give someone away. Master, when faced with that existence, can you help me? These words immediately made the Dragon King speechless and said. Are we just watching from here? If it doesn't work, Let's go over and bulldoze the dark dome. At this time, Dosha's calm and clear voice sounded, saying, after bulldozing the dome of darkness, are you going to attack the embankment? Before the embankment, there are mountains of corpses. The master just looked at the other side of the embankment one more time and suffered 9 deaths. Dragon King said, what should we do? The branch of the peach tree tapped lightly and said, Xuanhuan, what should I do? Hearing this, all eyes in the courtyard immediately fell on the big black dog. The big black dog was immediately stunned. It was very nervous and said, wow, I don't know what to do. I know how to run away. If that doesn't work, you should follow me and run away together. As it said this, its legs trembled. Damn dog, I really saw you right, you are so stubborn. Wu Date couldn't help but cursed. I'll kill this dog first, so as not to shake the morale of the army. The real dragon roared even more. However, a terrifying and light branch stopped the real dragon. Sister Tao's voice sounded calmly and said, okay, then run away. Take everyone and escape together. In the small courtyard, everyone was stunned.